You are all familiar by now of the Georgia Guidestone demolition explosion. I wanted to add to it because I found some interesting things. First, I want to start with the story that was reported in the media.
Video that shows that explosion at the Georgia Guidestones in Elbert County. It happened early this morning along Highway 77. No one was hurt there. GBI also released video showing a silver gray car driving away from the scene after that explosion went off. Now, there's no word on whether investigators believe this is the car the suspects used, but agents say an explosive device was detonated this morning.
So several things that were mentioned in here that I want to point out. The Georgia Guidestones. Georgia, I'll get into the meaning of that. Guidestones, GG 77, built on Highway 77. This happened on July 6th, which is 6/7, 2022, which is another 6, at 4:03, which is another 7. The time is significant. Georgia Guidestones were also built in Elbert County. This is also significant. None of this is by coincidence. Elbert County, a close word to Elbert is Ethelbert. Nobility bright. Ethel means noble, and Bert, as in Robert, means bright. The L is a letter L. L is also God. L is light. L is also the Hebrew letter Lamed. Since it stands taller than all the other letters, it represents royalty. In fact, it represents the King of all kings, the Almighty. It also represents the heart, as it is located in the center of the Hebrew alphabet. So, bright heart, lion heart. The name of the letter Lamed refers to limudim, studies or learning, which is the thing that most elevates people. Leavening. Again, we're going through the leavening. It is about a lightening. You become lighter. You become light, literally. The name of the letter Lamed comes from its shape, a cattle prod or shepherd's staff. The shepherd or farmer used it to direct his animals, teaching the animals the correct way to go. So a shepherd is leading the sheep, the ones who cannot see, teaching the animals and leading them the correct way to go, the way, the path, the truth, the life, those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. They were built in 1980, and they were revealed on March 22nd, 1980. March 22nd is 322 CV, which is skull and crossbones, which is the Cairo, which is the Phoenix.
What started with a bang?
I probably live like 3 or 4 miles out of town, so I did hear.
So the reporter says what started with a bang, and it is commonly held that the beginning of the world started with a bang, the Big Bang Theory.
Hear it at my house. The power did flicker off for a few minutes, so I'm not sure if it was because of the explosion or what, but I did hear it.
This lady's name is Sarah Beth Bowen. This is the princess. Sarah means princess. Beth is derived from Elizabeth, means house. And Bowen means son of Owen, meaning noble. Bohan meaning victorious. Princess. She's the princess.
But I did hear it.
Later became something that shook a community. Rebecca Brooks was driving past the Guidestones on her way into town and ran into her cousin, who was a first responder.
I kind of rolled my window down and yelled at him, and he was like, something's happened at the Guidestones.
GBI officials say unknown people detonated the explosion that damaged part of the structure around 4 a.m. Take a look at this video, released just hours ago, of a suspect vehicle seen leaving the scene shortly after the blast.
This is a silver horse, knight in shining armor.
Leaving the scene shortly after the blast. The investigation is active and ongoing. Residents say the landmark helped put the town on the map.
I think they said they bring out 20,000 people a year to Elberton. And it's a small town. We don't have a lot of stuff bringing people.
Her name's Rebecca Brooks. Rebecca means to tie or to bind. Originates from Ribka, meaning join, tie, or snare. Rebecca was the wife of Isaac and the mother of Esau and Jacob. Brooks means water or stream.
And then for somebody to just, blow it up or try to blow it up is awful.
Lee Robinson even stopped by to see it for himself.
It was a landmark. I mean, it's like you see it every day. It's something you go past. It's like.
Okay, his name is Lee Robinson. He's a Hartwell resident. Heart, Heart, well. When your heart is well, you've healed, you're whole, you're holy. Lee Shelter. We had the shooting that took place in Chicago, and as with all the shootings lately, they say shelter in place. So Lee is shelter, cover, defense, protection. Robin is a songbird, son of Robin, a diminutive of Robert. And Robert, as we have determined in other decodes, is to shine, the shining one. Bright fame. Barach means bright. It's the shining one. So he's the son of the shining one.
You've come to know it and feel like it's a part of you, and now it's not there anymore.
Hudson Cohn was here from the beginning, 1979. He took these photos as the Guidestones went up, 19 feet high, 250,000 pounds, and built to withstand an earthquake. The 4 slabs of granite.
Elbert County is known for its granite. The stones were made of granite. Granite is believed to have balancing effects. Oceanic granite has the properties of both water and earth, so it has a neutral, balanced nature. Balance, just like the Cairo, represents wholeness, the merging of the opposites, male and female as one. Ellen Elliott Page.
Even the people who built the Georgia Guidestones say that they don't even know for sure why R.C. Christian wanted this. Not even Wayne Mullinax, who sold 5 acres of his cow pasture to make space for the stones.
My house from here is about 600, maybe 700 feet down there.
My house, Beth, is 600 or 700 feet, which is another 67.
And we didn't have a problem unless somebody was going to come and sacrifice one of my cows, then I would have had a problem.
Did that
Sacrifice one of my cows, he mentions sacrifice.
happen?
No, it did not.
The real secret is under there. At some point, these will come down. And there's a time capsule right under there.
X marks the spot, buried treasure, just like 911, September 11th, and the missing gold. There's no time capsule that's been found yet.
There's actually been a lot of speculation about the existence of that buried time capsule. These slabs are built strong enough to stand on this earth longer than any of us, leaving a future generation guessing.
So he says that they're strong enough to last, but they got blown up and they did come down as predicted by the man on the motorcycle. The Georgia Guidestones. The meaning of George means husbandman or farmer. Farmer, they have the farmers' protest going on in Holland right now because it ties in to this. The husbandman is the free man, is you. Tilling the ground from Gi, earth, Gaia. Ergos, that works, from ergon, work, to do. Multiple videos I have done in the past 2 years have been rooted back to ergon, work, to do. So werg is to do. George, the demiurge, worker, Igigi. The Igigi of the Anunnaki were the workers. They were here to mine gold. That is what you're here to do. You are here to mine gold. You're here to find your authenticity and to exit from the material world. Georgia is a U.S. state named 1732 as a colony for King George of Great Britain. The Caucasian nation is so called for Saint George, who is its patron saint, Saint George, and Saint George is connected to the George Cross, awarded for acts of the greatest heroism, the most conspicuous courage in circumstances of extreme danger. It is a plain silver cross with circular medallion in the center, depicting the effigy of Saint George and the dragon, surrounded by the words for gallantry. In the angle of each limb is the royal cipher GVI. St. George on the horse slaying the dragon. Gallantry, of fine appearance, courteous, amusing, gallant behavior, polite attention to ladies, high living. Attention to ladies is about attention to the divine feminine. Chivalrous, pertaining to chivalry or knight-errantry. Knightly, noble, chivalrous. Gallant, showy, finely dressed, gay, merry, courteous, amusing, entertaining, lively, bold. Good, well, heart well. To wish, will, politely attentive to women. Will, to wish, desire, be willing. To choose, be chosen, eligible, excellent, choosing, to live according to one's wish. This is your authenticity. To be gallant is to live authentically according to one's wish or desire, with respect or polite attention to women or the divine feminine. St. George's Cross. In heraldry, St. George's Cross, the cross of St. George is a red cross on a white background, which from the late Middle Ages became associated with St. George, the military saint, often depicted as a crusader. This is also the flag of England. And around the same time, the Prime Minister of England resigned. His name is Boris Johnson, BJ, Joachim Boaz, the twin pillars. They topple as the sun happens to be dead center of Gemini, the twins. B and J is Boaz and Joachim, the high priestess card in the tarot. She represents Venus. She wears the pearl on her head. The George's cross is on her chest where her gold is stored. X marks the spot. The moon is at her feet in the water. Behind her is the veil. The term St. George's Cross was at first associated with any plain Greek cross touching the edges of the field, not necessarily red on white. So there's some examples. The Union Jack has both the St. George's Cross and the St. Andrew's Cross. Christian cross variants. The term Greek cross designates a cross with arms of equal length. So this is a Greek cross and this is a Latin cross. So the Greek cross, arms of equal length, one of the most common Christian forms in common use of the 4th century. There's the double cross, which is the Union Jack. The Chi-Rho, so there's the X of the St. Andrew's Cross and the P, so this is the Chi and this is the Rho. Chi-Rho, also known as Chrismon, is one of the earliest forms of Christogram formed by superimposing the first two capital letters of Chi and Rho, or XP, of the Greek word Christos, in such a way that the vertical stroke of the Rho intersects the center of the Chi. So if you go back to this, these points here could be representative of the Rho, and this is the Chi as it intersects the center point. Here is the St. Andrew's Cross, also known as Saltire, an X-shaped cross associated with St. Andrew, patron saint of Scotland, and so a national symbol of that country. St. George's Cross, sometimes associated with St. George, the military saint, often depicted as a crusader from the late Middle Ages. Who was St. Andrew and the St. Andrew or the Andrew's Cross? He was an apostle of Jesus according to the New Testament. He's brother of Simon Peter. Andrew in Greek means manly or brave, manhood, valor. Both he and his brother Peter were fishermen, not literally, they were not fishermen, they were fishers of men. Hence the tradition that Jesus called them to be his disciples by saying he will make them fishers of men. Andrew was present at the Last Supper. Andrew was one of the 4 disciples who came to Jesus on the Mount of Olives. Mount of Olives is in your brain, to ask about the signs of Jesus' return at the end of the age. We are at the end of the age. Andrew has been crucified on a cross of the form called crux decussata, X-shaped cross or saltire, now commonly known as St. Andrew's Cross. So this is also the flag of Scotland. Notice that it is blue and white, whereas the flag of England is red and white. So you've got red shift, blue shift. A saltire, also called St. Andrew's Cross or the crux decussata, is a heraldic symbol in the form of a diagonal cross, like the shape of the letter X in Roman type. A warning sign in the shape of a saltire is also used to indicate the point at which a railway line intersects a road at a level crossing. There have been railroad crossing was a code in at least the last 2 shootings I decoded, and a pedestrian crossing made an appearance. The letter X, Chi, was from an early time used as a symbol for Christ, surmounted by or displaying the Chi-Rho monogram rather than just the crux decusata. Early Christians endorsed its solar symbolism as appropriate to Christ. And here again, you've got the coin of Theodosius with a vexillum displaying a crux decusata. Let's see. You got St. George and the Dragon. This is the crux decusata. Victor. Victor is also Nike. That man in the report, he had a Nike t-shirt on. A black diagonal cross was used in an old European Union standard as the hazard symbol for irritants, XI, XI, IXXI, Chi, or harmful chemicals, XN. It indicated a hazard less severe than skull and crossbones. Skull and crossbones, this was erected on March 22nd for the skull and crossbones, which is the Chi-Rho. Again, that's why I think that the X is the Chi, and the 2 points on either side of the middle pillar represents the Rho. The middle pillar being part of the Rho. Now, they're saying that it stands for hazard symbol or irritants, but Chi is life force, and skull and crossbones represents death and rebirth, dying to the earth and being born to the spiritual. So it isn't a negative thing, but it has been made negative just because of our consciousness believing that the physical is all there is. A diagonal cross known as crossbuck is used as the conventional road sign used to indicate the point at which railway line intersects a road at a level crossing. So the railroad crossing represents the point at which 2 paths cross, or the 2 crosses intersect. The St. George's Cross and the St. Andrew's Cross, the Chi-Rho. While I was looking at the Georgia Guidestones, I was wondering where's the 3rd cross, because there are 3 crosses on the zodiac. We have the St. Andrew's Cross and we have the St. George's Cross, but where's the 3rd cross? Astronomical features in the Georgia Guidestones. The 4 outer stones were oriented to mark the limits of the lunar declination cycle. The center column featured a hole drilled at an angle from one side to the other through which the North Star could be seen. The same pillar had a slot carved through it, which was aligned to the sun's solstices and equinoxes. So the 3rd cross is the hole through which you can view Polaris. It's representing the 3 dimensions. That's why the actual cross is invisible. It is a light that comes from Polaris that cuts through the hole in the structure. So Polaris is the pole star. It's the pinnacle of the big top where all the stars revolve around it. As the pinnacle of the sky, it was imagined in other ways too by the Norse as the hill of heaven and by Indians as marking Mount Meru, the seat of the gods. In the last decode, there were a lot of chairs left behind, the seat of the gods, the seat of the soul. In Hindu tradition, it was known as Grahadhara, the pivot of the planets, and considered to be Dhruva, a devotee of Vishnu who stood on one leg for many months praying that he might please God. The Romans, though, saw Ursa Minor as a dog, and Polaris was sometimes known as Sinosura, the dog's tail, giving rise to our word cynosure, meaning center of attention. The spear of destiny is also known as the Holy Lance, the spear that pierces the side of Jesus on the cross. It is allegory for the 3 crosses of the zodiac. The Spear of Destiny is the 3rd cross, which is depicted in the center of the St. George's Cross. So all 3 crosses are depicted in the St. George's Cross. The myth of St. George explains the story. In the well-known version from Jacobus, Legenda Aurea, the Golden Legend from 1260s, the narrative episode of St. George and the dragon took place somewhere he called Cyrene in Libya. Cyrene is a flower, phlox, a genus of North American ornamental plants, from Latin, where it was the name of a flower, from Greek phlox, while shepherds watch their flocks by night, kind of plant with showy flowers, literally a flame, to burn, bell, to shine, flash, shining ones. Cyrene in Libya was plagued by a venom-spewing dragon dwelling in a nearby pond, poisoning the countryside. Libya means the heart of the sea. To prevent it from affecting the city itself, the people offered it 2 sheep daily, then a man and a sheep, and finally their children and youths chosen by lottery. Remember the man mentioned sacrificing his cows? One time, the lot fell on the king's daughter. Princess, remember, Sarah Beth Bowen was the princess. The king offered all his gold and silver to have his daughter spared, but the people refused. The daughter was sent out to the lake. Brooks means water or stream. Dressed as a bride to be fed to the dragon. St. George, by chance, arrived at the spot. The princess tried to send him away, but he vowed to remain. So Li is shelter, cover, defense, protection. The dragon emerged from the pond while they were conversing. St. George made the sign of the cross and charged it on horseback, seriously wounding it with his lance. He then called the princess to throw him her girdle. Girdle is encircled with a girdle, to cut off a belt of bark around a trunk to kill a tree. Belt, sash, cord drawn about the waist and fastened or tied, comes from the root gur, to grasp and close. Girdle is also garter. In some tellings of this story, they use the word garter instead of girdle. Garter, tie, or fastening to keep a stocking in place on the leg. What was the other girl's name? It was Rebecca. And what did Rebecca mean? Tie. Garter, in reference to the highest order of knighthood, is from the Order of the Garter. He put it around the dragon's neck. When he did so, the dragon followed the girl like a meek beast on a leash. So he basically tamed the dragon. The princess and St. George led the dragon back to the city of Cyrene, where it terrified the populace. St. George offered to kill the dragon if they consented to become Christians and be baptized. 15,000 men, including the king of Cyrene, converted to Christianity. Converting to Christianity is realizing Christ consciousness. George then killed the dragon, beheading it with his sword, and the body was carted out to the city on 4 ox carts. The king built a church to the Blessed Virgin Mary and St. George on the site where the dragon died. The Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial took place in Fairfax County Court, Virginia, and the emblem is the same. And a spring flowed from its altar with water that cured all disease. And here's some more depictions. They all look the same. All around the world, same story, same depiction, same imagery, different times in history. King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table is the same story as St. George. And Lancelot, he holds the spear of destiny, the sword in the stone. Lancelot is a character in some versions of Arthurian legend where he is typically depicted as King Arthur's close companion and one of the greatest knights of the Round Table. So here we have Lancelot slays the dragon. So it's the same image. Lord Osiron does an excellent video which adds to what is here if you want to go see what he has to say and understand a little bit more of the Spear of Destiny. But here's the Zodiac, St. George's Cross, St. Andrew's Cross, and then the Spear of Destiny. The narrative has pre-Christian origins, Jason and Medea, Perseus and Andromeda, and Typhon, because it's all the same story. It's astrology. July 6th at 4:03, the sun was right in the center of Gemini, the twins, and is right next to Orion, which is Orion is St. George. Orion is slaying the dragon. This is the dragon here. Eridanus. And when he slays the dragon, he's standing between the dragon and the princess. The princess is the sun. Also happening July 6th, the Queen returns to Windsor after short Sandringham break. July 6th at 9:40 a.m. And the person who wrote it is Laura Elston. Next Tuesday, the Queen is hoping to present the George Cross to the NHS during a special audience at Windsor. What are the odds? So the Georgia Guidestones, GG77, were built on Highway 77. They were 19 feet high. 19 is the number of the Sun tarot card. They were built in the shape of a cross representing the zodiac. They were built in Elbert, Georgia. L is the heart. Bert is shining, the shining heart, the lion heart. It's exemplifying the myth of St. George slaying the dragon. The dragon is the beast, the taming of the lower mind, the material consciousness, to save the princess, Venus, the sun, Guinevere, Sarah. When the princess returns home, Beth, she is victorious. Bowen, she crosses the bridge, is anointed, crowned, kinged, or queened. Sarah the princess is cast into the lake, Brooke, where she meets St. George, who defends her against the dragon. Lee offers her shelter. He protects her. He's the son of the Shining One, the knight in shining armor, Lancelot. He defends her against the dragon. She throws her garter tie, Rebecca, to him, and he tames the dragon. The X marks the spot where your treasure is found, in the chest. Your gold is in your AU, your authenticity, your heart. When your heart is well, you are whole, holy, healed, a shining one. Robert, Elbert, your heart is joined with mind, and you are like the phoenix, the XP, the Cairo, born to CC, 33, Christ consciousness. You die to the earth and are resurrected. The myth of St. George and the dragon is an allegory for the story of the Agigi, the earth worker, you, the free man who finds the spear of destiny, the truth. You are weaponized with the truth, knowledge, gnosis, which slays the dragon, the beast, the lower mind, the ego, false consciousness. As you are anointed in Christ consciousness, the Kundalini life force has risen within you and frees the princess, Venus, sun, which is your light, L, love. And you cross the railroad tracks, merge male and female, heaven and earth, eclipse sun and moon, become whole, holy, in order to return home, Beth, Elizabeth, queened, kinged, crowned, victorious. Every single thing that is happening right now is reflected in the Georgia Guidestones.